Hey guys, welcome to the Kane audio vlog. It's Friday, it's time for another Ask Me Anything. Usual rules apply. Comment anything you want below this video and I'll get back to you in next week's video. Before I look at last week's video, house admin, it's not just any Friday, but it's the Friday that my EP has come out. So I'll drop a link below this video to whatever Spotify, should be on Spotify, Apple Music, Beatport, whatever. It should all be out today. So yeah, check that out. It's called Stoic, and I've put 3 very different tracks in there really. Stoic is kind of a big festival friendly track, but with a really long intro, so it kind of works at home as well. Tunnel Run is just a much darker, heavier underground number. And then the third track is Downforce, and I kind of went off on a bit of a weird tangent with that. So yeah, I hope you guys like. Please feel free to give feedback. Yeah, other than that, I don't know if there's anything else I need to mention. On Spotify, if you are Spotify users, you'll have heard that I've started doing a Spotify playlist. I'm still trying to keep that up to date and adding fresh new music to it. I'm not entirely sure how to curate it because there's a part of me that doesn't like deleting music every week and then adding new music in. I kind of want it to just grow and grow. I don't know, let me know your thoughts on that, because obviously if you're free users and you have to listen to it on shuffle, maybe that's not so good. Maybe I've just answered my own question there as well. And then the other thing to mention, same as last week, Vibecast. A mate of mine runs the website. If you are a DJ and producer, and if you're watching this video, then you probably are a DJ and or producer, and you're looking to get a decent website together, then please do check out vibecast.com. In fact, go to domkane.com and that is a Vibecast website. So yeah, it's just super easy to upload your photos, tag in your SoundCloud links, YouTube videos, whatever it is you want, you know, your biography, and it's really easy to sort of move them around and format them and get it looking good and choose your colours and whatever without having to learn HTML, PHP, WordPress, whatever. You know, all these sort of things are designed for people who know what they're doing, and we don't. So there we go. That I think is it for house admin this week. Yeah, on with the show. Let's have a look at last week's questions. Starting at the top, Dancy. Hey Dom, my question this time would be, what kind of processing do you usually apply to mono hardware leads, e.g. sub 37? And in particular, what kind of stereo imaging and EQ to better fit them into the mix? So, processing on a mono hardware lead, I don't really do anything different to what I would use on a VST, if I'm honest. Yeah. What kind of stereo imaging? To be honest, I don't know if it's a conscious thing, but I pretty much always add a little dash of reverb to them, and that kind of increases the stereo imaging. However, my Moog sub 37 is mostly bass lines and things, so I don't need stereo imaging on that. Lead sounds, yeah, I tend to go with some delays or reverb or both, and that's about it. I do like in Bitwig there's a built-in plugin called Blur, which is kind of like a chorusy reverb type thing, but really subtle. I do like that. I add Blur onto a fair few things every now and then. Beyond that, I don't really do anything. You know, I don't treat it differently to anything else. Or not consciously anyway. Maybe I do, but don't really think about it. Don't know. Also, coffee. High five. Sunset86. Hey Dom, Maxwell House, Nescafe, Starbucks or Costa? Okay, Maxwell House can piss right off. Nescafe is alright, but if you're going to be drinking instant coffee, which I do, then I'll be totally honest, you may as well just go with the cheap crap, because none of it is particularly good. And Aldi is like £1.80 for a big jar, so can't go wrong. And I drink a lot. Other than that, I also have a espresso machine that I like to make my own coffees on. And I highly recommend, if you live in the UK, I highly recommend a company called Hasbean, hasbean.com.co.uk. Don't know, Hasbean. Obviously, I'm not sponsored or anything like that, but .co.uk, there we go, Hasbean. If you want superb coffee, fresh roasted beans, they are literally roasted and then sent to you that afternoon. Yeah, they are by far the best beans you'll find in the UK. As for Starbucks or Costa, see, me and my girlfriend always disagree on this. I think Starbucks is better coffee, but Costa is better caramel lattes. But I do like to switch it up. So there we go. Anyway, recently got my first ever analog synths. Congratulations. I got the Arturia Minibrute and Korg Minilog. Having so much fun trying to create sounds. One question. How do you create the plucky sound on Borg that comes in around 40 seconds? Is it a triangle or square wave? Sorry, I'm trying to get to terms with it. Cheers, Dom. Have a great weekend. I think it's a square wave off the top of my head, but I'm sure we can find out here. Where did it go? It was on that. And there. Would you say 40 seconds in? I think. Yeah, 40 seconds in. Assuming it's the right version. All of those ARPs, yeah, all of those ARPs, by the sounds of it, are square waves. So there we go. Yeah, it is literally a really simple square wave. Jump on the ADSR, short attack, fairly short decay, zero sustain. Don't care about release because you've got zero sustain. On the filter, that is. Yeah, that's about it. Stick on some reverb and away we go. Yeah, that's it. That's that sound done. Very, very simple. So yeah, so going back to the previous comment asking about image processing and stuff on hardware synths, again, just dropping in some reverb just gives it that extra bit of room and dynamic. So it definitely makes a big difference. Yeah. Other than that, just enjoy the Minibrute and Minilog, two great synths. Yeah, I do recommend them. Contraband music. Of all the talent you meet, who has been the one producer / DJ you have fangirled over? Well, I think I'm not sure actually. I'm not really that kind of a person that fangirls over people too much. I guess when I was younger, maybe when I was like 18, and I remember meeting very briefly Mauro Picotto, who at the time I think he'd released, maybe not released, Lizard at that point, which was just a huge summer anthem. I remember meeting him and just being in love with his music. Yeah, other than that, I can't think. I've met so many, but I think that's kind of the point I'm trying to make, is that I think when you meet a lot of the DJs and producers and whatever of the big leagues, you kind of realise they're not really any different to anyone else. But yeah, I can't think of an instance where I've really sort of gushed over someone face to face. No, don't know. But I like the question. Deadly Custard, coffee, high five. In relation to Zombo's question last week about using a scaler, one thing you can do is to record the MIDI out from the scaler into a new clip. Then you've got the rescaled MIDI. That's a good idea. You can then use that new MIDI, ditch the scaler, alter the notes to go outside the scale as you fancy. Exactly right. So we were talking about staying within a scale or coming outside of the scale, blah blah blah. So yeah, you're absolutely right. You could send the MIDI from a scaler to a new channel, record that as a MIDI clip, so you're taking the outputted notes from the scaler, and then use that as your new clip, and then if you want you can adjust it accordingly. I find this particularly useful with arpeggiator, as you can easily make far more interesting patterns based on quite a simple original output. 100%, I really like that tip. I might have to steal it. Thanks for the reverb info. Yes, that all makes sense. I was thinking particularly about the colour you can get from reverb. Some have a certain tone, but as you say, if it fits in with what you want to sound like and it fits in the mix as a whole, it's all good stuff. I'll continue going wild with my reverb choices. So yeah, in terms of colour and tone, again, if I remember rightly, I think I was talking about it kind of doesn't matter in electronic music. That's right, because I was talking about whether to use, you know, room or hall or church or whatever. Yeah, so in terms of colour and tone, yeah, again, being brutally honest, in electronic music, it really doesn't matter. The colour and tone doesn't really come through, not in any real way. I think it's a bit different when, you know, if you're doing some singer-songwriter, indie folk, acoustic, any of those sorts of genres, then the colour and tone can sometimes mean, you know, that's if you think of like a bass guitar or lead guitar, you know, of any given band, they each have their sort of individual unique sound, and a lot of that comes from things like the, you know, or the vocals, let's say, a lot of their character comes from the tonality or the character of the reverb or whatever processes they've got in that chain. In electronic music, I don't think that really applies, and I think there's a lot of people on the internet, in forums in particular, and I'm sure any of you who have ventured on any forums will have seen it, where people start talking about, oh, don't use this reverb, or don't use this compressor, or you have to use this one, or whatever, because, oh, the colour and tone on that one is terrible, or whatever. In my view, it's 99% BS, because I think they're taking a rule from one genre and seeing it as written in law and then applying it to everything, and I don't think that's the right approach, because electronic music, one of the clear advantages of producing electronic music is the fact that we can do anything on anything. It really doesn't matter, that there are no rules, and that's kind of the whole thing about electronic music is, you know, if I want to write a track that has no kick drum and is 7 minutes long and just doesn't repeat the same chord twice, I can do that, and there is no clear distinction. So I think when it comes to things like colour and tone of things like reverbs, if I'm honest, they kind of get lost in the track anyway. It's not like you're using a vocal, and, you know, in a band, for example, you've got a lead vocalist, and that vocal is the feature sound of the band. You know, if you want to talk about someone like Oasis, who pretty much everyone in the world knows, you know, the lead singer, whether it was Liam or Noel or whoever, there was that constant saturation in the vocal, you know, and that was always there, and that was part of the vocal sound. I think if you took off all the processors from their guitars and vocals, it would sound, you know, if you had the same musicians playing the same songs, the same instruments, but just removed all processing, it wouldn't sound like Oasis anymore. Whereas you kind of can't do that with electronic music. It's different. It's different. So there we go. Yeah, reverb, cool. Ricky John, coffee, high five. Hi Dom, thanks for going in depth last week. It's good to have had that validated. On the back of that, How would you go about building a following from absolutely nothing, assuming the product being offered is at least somewhat up to scratch? I kind of love and hate that question. I love the question because it's really important. And I could list a million things not to do. But I don't know what you should do. And that's why I hate it, because I don't know what the answer is. I can only give you negative answers, and I don't like to do that. Because if you're... So we're talking about you're a new producer, DJ, whatever. Let's call it producer. So you're making music and you've written some great tracks. First of all, obviously talent, and skill and whatever, that comes first. I don't think I should even need to mention that. So I could list things not to do, like, spamming people on Instagram or whatever, or spamming people in general. I could tell you definitely not to do that. I could also tell you don't send it to record labels saying, check out my smash hit, this is guaranteed to be a anthem or whatever, because I can guarantee you it's not. As soon as I see an email like that, and a lot of them do, and they're like, listen to my smash hit, I'm like, I bet this isn't a smash hit, and you listen to it and it's not anything like a smash hit. So you have to be careful, so don't overhype your own music, I guess, is one thing. But again, I'm listing things you shouldn't do. As for things you should do, interact with people. Be social. And I know that's easier said than done. But by socialising with other producers and them getting to know your personality and whatever, then I think there's room for growth in that. What else should you do? Tricky. To build a following, I mean, I guess we've spent, and we're in a weird time of life at the moment, I think, from my perspective. I come from a generation of producers where talent was pretty much everything and nothing else mattered. For producers and DJs, we were the geeks in the back of the room when I first started. We were the nobodies. We were the train spotters, the anoraks. It was only towards the end of the 90s and moving into the noughties that the birth of the super club happened, and then the DJs were commanding big fees and they were becoming celebrities in their own right, and all of a sudden being good looking helped. And then there was the birth of social media, and all of a sudden being really good looking helped. And the whole kind of electronic music industry struggled to maintain any kind of serious talent, and I think for the last 15 years, 10 years definitely, I think it's been a bit of an odd time, because 5 years ago I can remember, nearly 10 years ago, something like that, whatever, 8 years ago, once there was a festival promoter who I shall not name, but he was a festival promoter, and I'd known him, met him several times, whatever, and he got in touch with me saying, Dom, I'm doing this year's festival, or next year's festival lineup, blah, 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 blah. Are you interested in playing? I went, hell yeah, that sounds great. I knew the festival. I hadn't actually been to that one, but I knew it, and it sounded good. And then he asked, what's your Instagram? And I gave him my Instagram, and I said, why? And he said, oh, because, we measure them for the lineup and whatever. And I'm like, why are you asking about my Instagram? That's for photos. And I couldn't get my head around the fact that a promoter of an event who wants to sell tickets, I get that. but was judging a musician based on a social media platform that's for photos and not for music. And this was before Instagram even allowed video or audio or whatever. So it was literally just photos at the time. And that kind of baffled me, and still baffles me to this day. However, I think we're now past that point, and the point I'm trying to make is that some of you will remember up to 10 years ago, there were a lot of DJs and producers who were paying for likes on their Facebook page, their SoundCloud page. There were a lot of bots that were for hire, and fake Facebook pages were becoming a really, really big thing. Now, unfortunately, all Facebook pages from that time suffered a lot from fake likes. I had a load of fake likes. I think it was Egyptian ones or something. Yeah, I think they were Egyptian, which obviously one bot clocked on, because bots will, when you create a fake account, you have to keep it liking things to keep that active, and then they latch onto a page, and then they all the bots like the same page. And I remember I started getting about 2,000 Egyptian likes on my fan page, which at the time I was like, oh great, and I was DJing a lot in Egypt, so it made sense. Turned out they were fake bots, and I had to then block Egypt from liking my Facebook fan page, which is a bit shit, but it was the only way I could stop it. Anyway, that's a whole other story. The point being is that fake Facebook likes, SoundCloud likes, whatever, all of these things, YouTube video likes, everything's for sale. But the problem is there were people doing that who you could see they were talented, and they were buying likes, and it was getting them popularity, because of course you start the snowball effect from happening. And there were a lot of people going, oh well, he's got 100,000 likes, he must be good, so I'll like his page or whatever. So I can understand that kind of work. But then once people clock onto that, the problem is then you've got all the people without any talent doing the exact same thing, and then nobody, then it's just chaos, basically. It's pandemonium. So I seem to be going on a hell of a long tangent here and avoiding the actual question of how do you go about building a following. But my point is, I think we're over that period now where buying likes and having likes and all of that meant something, and it meant too much. I think now we're in a period where, I don't even know how many Facebook likes my page has. I think it's about 10, 12,000, something like that. And I hope that the vast majority of those are genuine likes. And if you look at things like YouTube algorithms now, they're measuring your page not on how many likes you have, but more on how engaged people are with your content. And I think that's a really important change. So I'm doing this tangent for a reason, because I feel like the best advice I can give you is to provide quality content that you enjoy creating no matter what. And I think that is the key to gaining any measurably successful career in the music industry, because you could become an overnight sensation at any given time. But that's not for you to decide. You can put things in place to let it happen, but you can't choose to become famous. You can't, if we could choose or control or manage how to become famous and an overnight sensation, we'd all be overnight sensations, wouldn't we? So the point I'm trying to make is that you have to assume you're not going to be an overnight sensation. You have to assume that you're not going to have millions of followers, and you have to work accordingly. And I think that's the best advice I can give. If you look at my career, for example, I've been full-time in the music industry for 10 or 15 years, somewhere in between, and I've never missed any rent payments or whatever in that time. And I've had a roof over my head and food on a plate, and I've lived a good life. So I'm not rich, I'm not famous, I don't have millions of followers. This channel doesn't have 1 million subscribers. My Facebook page doesn't have, you know, hundreds of thousands of likes or whatever. I don't get huge engagements. But because I've been doing it for so long and I've built that foundation, and I've got, you know, all of you people watching this video right now, especially if you've made it this far into my rants, are probably regular viewers, and you guys regularly engage with me and I engage with you back, and that's important. And you know, we've kind of built this weird online relationship, and you know, off the back of that, I hope that you guys will check out my new EP, which is out today on Mousetrap. Go check it out on Spotify, link below this video. You know, I hope that you guys will listen to it, and I hope that you guys will like it. But if I paid for 1,000 likes or whatever on this video, is it going to change anything? No. It's just going to be a bigger number. And I think we're kind of past the age where promoters put too much priority on likes. And I think we're starting to get back to promoters booking talent because they are talented. And I think that is where we're heading. So I guess the whole point of this rant is get ahead of that curve. Be the talent that promoter's gonna want to book. And, you know, yeah, I guess that's it. I guess also, on that note, if you want to be the talent that the promoter wants to book, you need to be... A brand is too strong a word, but you need a whole package. So I don't mean you need snazzy logos and videos and whatever, but you do need at least presentable packages. So for example, a logo, a good website, and I mentioned at the beginning of this video, if you're not a web designer, go to vibecast.com, get yourself a free website there. You don't have to park your own domain name, you don't have to spend any money, I don't think, you know, and I think, these things are important. You know, if you're spending money, spend, you know, what is it for the package on Vibecast is a couple of pounds a month. It's not a big deal. It's a coffee or two a month, you know. But at least then it's presentable. And if a promoter is to look you up, what are they going to find? You know, if they look up your Facebook page, what are they going to see? So your cover image and your profile photo, they're the two first things anyone is going to see when they look you up on Facebook. And let's be honest, when we want to look someone up, we jump on Facebook, don't we? So I guess that's probably important, is to have a good cover image and profile photo. If you've got a Facebook fan page, again, same again, you know, if people are going to look you up, that's what they're going to find. And again, on SoundCloud, just making things presentable. And I guess, you know, by having all of that ready, if it's ever your turn to become the next big overnight sensation, then you've got everything ready and you've got everything in place ready for that. And yeah, that seems to be a hell of a long rant, and I feel like I haven't given you any information in there other than listing what not to do, but hopefully there's something useful in there. So sorry to everyone who doesn't give a shit about that rant. But yeah, that was that. I can also see my camera's hitting the 30-minute mark, so I'm just going to reset. So there we go. That was it. Right, so assuming the product being offered is at least somewhat up to scratch. Enjoyed the answers to the other questions also. Good stuff. Have a great weekend. You too, and apologies for the long rant. A duck has got in touch. Coffee, high five. I should probably try to think of a question at some point. Right, yes. Lumbeats, new music, yay, yes. Nathan Saskarinskas, Coffee Dom, high five. I have a question for you. Do you ever find yourself going through old projects and taking parts from old projects and incorporating that into a new project? Yes. Or do you even just fuse multiple old projects together and make a new project from that? No. So I think I'm not sure if I've talked about this before actually, but I do mention to friends on a regular basis, you know, I work on a basis of, if I don't get in the zone with a production relatively quickly, so let's say for example I come into the studio in the morning, boot up the computer and get working straight away on a new production. If in half an hour I'm kind of not feeling whatever it is I'm doing, I shut it down, close it, delete, whatever. And when I say delete, I mean move it to an archive folder. Don't ever actually fully delete it. And the reason is because what I'm about to say about coming back to these things. But the point is open up a new project, start again, start something completely different. If you were just working on a drum beat and within half an hour you're kind of not sure, oh, does this bass line work, does that bass line work? No, I'm not 100%. You probably went wrong. So load up a new project and start on a melody or something. The point being is that at some point you're going to get inspired by either a sound, a chord, a bass line, a drum groove. Something's going to inspire you when you keep just throwing bits and pieces down. One of them's going to make you go, oh, this is what I've been trying to do, you know, or whatever. You just get excited about something, and that's when your best work will come out. But if you're not feeling it in I say half an hour, I guess, 30 to 60 minutes, something like that. I don't really count, but it gets to a point where you just you know what that feeling is. But moving on from that, that doesn't mean it sucked. It just meant you weren't feeling it at that moment in time. Now, there will be ones that probably do suck, let's be honest. There's probably a lot that do suck. But you'll know what those ones are, especially when in a week, 2 weeks, 6 months, you come back and open it and you go, oh, God, yeah, no, that sucked. What was I thinking? Then you can delete that. But there will always be the odd one where you're going, do you know what? I like that bass line, but there was something not quite right with it. And one day you'll find out if you just keep checking it every now and then. You know, you might develop a melody or something, and let's say that there was something bugging you about the sound and you weren't sure what it was, and you tried a bunch of different presets and you were never really sure what it was that you didn't like about it, but something wasn't gelling. And you know, who knows, in 6 months time you might learn a new mix technique or a new effect, or you might have discovered that actually you had the reverb was too wet or something silly like that, and in which case you're going to come back to that and go, oh, the reverb's too wet, turn it down and go, oh shit, that's a really good melody now. You know, it's really important that you keep these ideas and just keep moving through ideas, because it's every now and then one of them will catch and one of them will excite you, and I think that's how to sort of try and get past that writer's block we all fear. So I think that's quite important. As for fusing multiple old projects together, I've got nothing against that. I don't think I ever do it. I'm also quite careful at times. It doesn't always ring true, but you'll notice, for example, I use very similar hi-hats and hi-hat patterns in most of my tracks. I'm a big fan of hi-hats. But I'm also very careful to not use the exact same ones in each one. So I try not to take stuff from one project and use them in another. If that one project has already been released or finished. Once it's finished, it is finished, and it's never to be opened again unless I have to do a remix or an updated version or whatever. So fusing ideas, I mean, I guess for me, I guess it kind of doesn't occur to me because most of my ideas are probably musical ideas. The sound design and stuff I don't tend to struggle with because I'm a sound designer by trade. It's more the musical ideas and the musicality. And I guess if I'm writing a chord progression in A minor, I'm not going to think to myself, that top line I did in E major will sit on this. Well, it probably won't. So it just doesn't occur to me to fuse multiple projects together for that reason. So I'm not against it. If you guys do that, that's fine. I can't think of a reason why you shouldn't, other than a clashing of keys. But that's about it. Yes. I've just had a thought for another question too. I want to make some form of sample pack with my Euro rack. What's the best way to go about making a sample pack? How do you figure out what to include? That's a really difficult one to answer without more context, if I'm honest. Are you talking about a commercially viable sample pack? Because that would have very clear set structures, file architectures, recording techniques, note lengths. There's a lot to take in with stuff like that to get it right. Otherwise, if it's just for your own personal use, there kind of aren't any rules. So let's kind of go for I don't know. So I would first of all treat it like a commercial pack and set yourself a bunch of folders and have notes, and then in that would have 2 folders, long and short notes, and then you'd also have a percussive drums. Have a drums folder, and inside that have maybe kicks, snares, hats, toms, other, and try and structure it like that, I guess, because then I guess what you're aiming to do is you want to be able to build a sample pack that is just like all the other sample packs that you have on your computer, except this one you made. So I guess have a look at what sample packs you use and ask yourself, why do you love that sample pack? What is it that you love about that sample pack? And then try and use that structure or whatever it is that you love about that pack. Try and use that to your advantage in making your next sample pack. Otherwise, give me more information if I've answered it wrong, because I'm not sure, like I say, whether you want to do commercial or personal or whatever. How do you figure out what to include? I would say generally include everything you can, and then you'll find yourself listening to it, give yourself a rest, much like producing a track. Give yourself a day or 2 rest, come back to it, listen to the sounds, and there will be somewhere you're like, the hell is that sound? No one's ever going to use that. I was always very careful with my sample packs. Any of the sample packs I've ever done, I actually structured in a way that there would be one bass line, one drum groove, one melody, one percussive add-on, whatever. There would always be a structure where everything could gel to become an entire track, because I wanted everything to be usable. I always found that with some sample packs, you'd find a folder full of kick drums, say there's 30 kick drums, and of those 30 kick drums, 15 of them are just utterly useless, and you just think, well, who made this pack? Whereas I would make tracks using these kick drums and then go, yeah, these kick drums work, and then bounce the kick drums down into the folder. So it meant that every sound I made was usable in a track of mine anyway. May not be for the people buying it, but hey. So there we go. That's my thoughts on that. Zombo, oh wait, you did a course for Fader Pro and for Borg of all tracks. Why did you not tell me? Update, I bought the course. Cheers. So I think I did tell people. In fact, I think there's a video on this YouTube channel that is highlighting the Fader Pro course, and it's got Borg playing in the background. So I don't know what more I could have done other than maybe knocking on your front door. But yeah, that's there. So that was whenever Borg came out, so it's a few years ago now. But yeah, that's available. And coffee, high five. Unknown artist. Hi Zombo, don't suppose you could drop a link to the course, maybe on the Facebook page? Just a thought, peace out. Zombo, sure, I can do that. So there we go. I think I did see someone post that on the group, so it was probably you, and thank you very much. Yanis or Janice Luckmellis, coffee, high five. St. Nicholas, high five. Coffee. Rod Marconi, coffee, high five. And that, my friends, is it for this week. I feel like I've had a real long rant of a tangent this morning. Hopefully it's been of some use to you. I never know whether my long-winded tangents are just me venting or me trying to pass on information. I don't know if they're ever useful, but hey, whatever, it gives me an opportunity to vent. So yeah, there we go. That is the end of it for this week. Please do check out vibecast.com. Also check out my Spotify playlist, and while you're on there, check out my new EP, and I will drop links below this video. If you've made it this far into the video, you deserve an award, and to show you've made it this far in, give me the word drone, because I can see that someone's posted a video about flying drones. Thank you very much. See you next week. Cheers.